right, let's make this super quick, super spicy. This is strictly for those that are struggling to get approved for checking, savings, debit cards, and they're stuck to work with Cash App, Chime, and all those other banks out there that aren't really banks. So if you're struggling with that, that means that you're most likely in one of two locations. That's going to be Early Warnings or ChexSystems. Both are kind of like the banking credit report. So we have our credit reports between Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, and this is kind of like the same thing, but for the banks. And just how the credit agencies won't allow us to remove anything off of our credit report without actually fighting, it's going to be the same thing. You have to fight to get your stuff off, but it's a lot easier, a lot smoother, and way more transparent than it is with the credit agencies and all the creditors and all the junk that go on in between there. And then also, truthfully, you can avoid all of this if most banks will just literally take you back if you just walk in there with your ID and you just basically tell them, I'm sorry, or you pay whatever the issue was. Like, let's say, for example, there was an outstanding balance or minimum balance due that was not satisfied. You just pay that $30 or whatever it is, and they'll just take you right back. If you have something different, then I would say that you would want to go this path. And this path is essentially pulling that early warnings and that ChexSystems report and disputing everything that's on there. Now, how can you do that? You basically just sign up, make an account with ChexSystems, and you also make an account with early warnings, but it's super simple, super fast. But you can just simply send them a letter, and then that letter will allow you to essentially just pull your report without even creating an account. Now, I'm gonna share my screen and I'm gonna go over everything that you're gonna need to do. And with that, you're gonna basically wanna just follow the steps, follow those steps, and then you're gonna basically find yourself in a situation where you're in a better location. Now, before we get into ChexSystems and all these other crazy steps and stuff like that, there are chances that you can just do second chance banking. And what I would literally simply type in Google is legitimately that in itself, literally second chance banking. You can either type in second chance banking with Chase, or you can just type in second chance banking. And what's gonna happen is that it's literally just gonna pull up a file, it's gonna pull up all the banks that allow you to work not without ChexSystems or early warnings. But in the downloads below, you'll also find a list of banks that don't pull either ChexSystems or early warnings. Now, let's get into this. First things first, I'm gonna type in as we speak, I'm typing in second chance banking with Chase. Now, Chase does offer this. It may not be directly on their screen, but if you were to just literally just Google this, it will pop up and it literally says, what is second chance banking? A second chance checking. What is second chance banking and second chance checking, right? In a very simple form, why second chance banking is important. It is super, super, super simple, and it's gonna basically just reiterate what I said before. When you use a checkings account, your account actively goes into reporting systems called ChexSystems. Financial institutions utilize these ChexSystems reports in similar ways lenders examine credit reports when evaluating applications. Certain negative items on your checkings account could affect your eligibility. As I was saying earlier before, those late payments, not late payments, but those minimum balances due, things like that, those all can hurt you in the future. Second chance banking helps bridge the gap in banking that impacts low-income communities, minorities, and those without banking history. For example, keeping up with bank fees, minimum balances isn't always feasible for lower income customers. As I was saying before, if you want second chance banking, you want to go with Chase. Chase is one of my favorite branches to work with. You literally just type this in and they'll pull this up for you. Continuing ID requirements and personal history can also be potential barriers, particularly for non-residents or individuals who don't have banking history. You can go through this whole thing and it'll keep breaking down all the things that you need. And it's basically one of the simplest ways to get back into it. And if you wanted to go then, you just learn more about securing your banking, second chance banking. You just go right here, securing your spot. But let's go into step number 2, which is just a little bit harder, but not as hard as people make it seem. ChexSystems, super easy. We don't charge for this anymore because it's so easy for you to do it. Literally, you just log in, register, or you can just do the contact us. And then literally you see this button right here where it says dispute. Super simple. You can legitimately submit your disputes online. Very, very simple. But once again, you have to log into your customer portal or register for an account using the buttons above. As I was saying, log in. I don't have an account because I've never been in this. But if we would just literally register, and it's super simple. I've done this for multiple people. You start your registration, you put all your details in. Once you have that in, you just press continue. And then once you get in there, it's gonna populate. You're gonna ask them to pull a report, and it's just gonna be a huge button to pull report. But if you don't wanna do this and you wanna do this the manual way, it's actually a simpler way to do it. And this also works with early warnings. Very easy way. I'm gonna pull up some details over here, just bear with me. Okay, so first things first, what we're gonna do is we're gonna send in a very basic form, and this form is one of my favorites to send in. The reason why is because the way that it works. Let's just get the other form up as well. Let's get right into this. I'm gonna share my screen again, and I'm gonna go over from left to right. So just bear with me when I say these things. So starting from left to right, we're gonna start off with, and you will find all of these things in this bottom right-hand corner of the course that you're following. You're gonna see it right there over at the bottom right-hand side, downloadable for yourself. As I said, we don't do this anymore because it is so easy to get everything off your credit report that there's legitimately no reason for us to charge you guys when it only takes a couple seconds if you use this information. So this is gonna be request a report. So let's say, for example, I went to the bank and found out that I could not bank with them, right? They said, or I tried to make it online and that online account got denied. If that online account got denied, very simply what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send this to this location that you see right here. I'm gonna mail this to this location. This is the ChexSystems location, and I'm gonna ask them for my report. Now, when I ask them for my report, very simple, please just make sure that we delete this section up here, this top section right here. Now, you can also call them and fax them this information, but basically what this letter says is, when I recently tried to open up a checking account, I was informed that I had negative entries in my ChexSystems records. To my knowledge, have never had non-sufficient funds, and I'm not aware of any negative entries. Kindly forward me a copy of my ChexSystems records. Super simple so that way you can verify them. And then basically you put your details, your social security, your name, and your first and last name, and you send this off in a very beautiful priority mail thing that you get a tracking number, so that way you can track when it was delivered, and that way you know that they definitely got that. Just like credit repair, kind of similar, you're gonna do the same exact things. Now, in this case, you're gonna wait for them to send that back to you, and they're probably gonna send back a humongous packet. That packet that you're gonna get, you're gonna literally take it just like as if it was credit repair. You're gonna get a highlighter and you're gonna literally start highlighting all the negative items that are on there. And the second thing that you're gonna do is that you're gonna then ask them to investigate. Request to investigate. That's the second letter right here. And the last letter you see over here is gonna be an actual dispute. So I received a copy of my ChexSystems record, and I have found several inaccuracies in my report. Boom, dispute the list items right then and there. In detail, your record that I have non-sufficient funds in the name, banks, boom, whatever it may be. And very simple, you're gonna send these details out once again with your signature and with your name and social security. This is very different from credit repair. Credit repair, I would never recommend that you send your signature. And the reason why I say that is because you never want to have that signature being duplicated for those third-party debt collectors. But in this case, you send it out, it is not the same. You send this out, they're gonna then hit you back with probably a response. That response is then gonna come into this section right here, which is gonna be your third and final attempt to get this removed. And now over here, very simple, this usually will remove everything, but if it doesn't, then you're basically gonna go this route. You're gonna be a little bit more sophisticated with these documents or this letter. I recently informed that that there's an investigation and with the bank, blah, blah, blah. It is very similar to this, but you are just sending it in just a little bit more formal and a little bit more of a punch to the gut. You send this out, replace everything that's yellow with the stuff that you have, and you just send this forward. And in a very simple form, this is what you're gonna leverage. But now let's go over one other part of the puzzle, and the other part of the puzzle is going to be one of my favorite sections, which is let's just open this up. This is going to be all the banking details that you need. So we have recently just found out that our banks are not allowing us to open up an account, or the top tier banks are not allowing us to open up an account. So we're gonna have our nationwide banks that do not pull your ChexSystems and early warnings. Now, what we have to have is we have TD, no overdraft fees, $100 minimum balance. Then we have Fidelity, no fees, ATM fees. Then we have Washington Savings Banks, overdraft, ATM fees. Wood Forest Bank, available in 17 plus states. Then we have Resistance Bank, must apply online. Then we have One First Convenience Bank, no ChexSystems at all. Bank with United, no ChexSystems at all. No credit report, no ID required. Then we have Navy Federal, one of my favorite banks to ever work with, but you must be affiliated with a military member. So if you have any family members that are military, you can use that bank, literally one of the banks. Then we're gonna drop down and go into our state-based banks, and they're gonna break down. And at the time of this, these are the banks that are available. So if they're not available by the time that you watch this and you wanna go through with it, then that does change the game. But at the current moment, these are all the banks that should be available to work with at this current moment. Now, let's pull up one last piece of the puzzle. That last piece of the puzzle is going to be this beautiful guy right here that I'm bringing up onto the screen. And this is going to be your ChexSystems guideline ebook. There's tons of pages in this. There's a total of 57 pages. I understand if you don't want to read it, but you should, and you should take your time. But if you wanted to skim through it, you can definitely skim through it quite quickly. It's going to break down what ChexSystems is. And I know it keeps saying ChexSystems, but this is very similar to early warnings as well. So you're going to do the same thing. Keep going down, break it down. Unlike traditional credit bureaus, which have 7 years of reporting, ChexSystems reports up to 5 years. Information that you didn't know that you do now know. Keep on going. Opening a bank account with ChexSystems report. This is going to break it down, and let's get all the way down to the nitty gritty, because we also, if I'm not mistaken, have provided that same list of banks also in here as well. And if you are struggling with credit repair, you can of course click any of these links and it's going to open up our company line. Once again, Navy Federal, top 5 banks that there is. And then we're going to keep on going down. You have US Bank. And then we should have, once again, like I said, third choices by state. We have all the states listed, and the list just goes on and on and on and on. But just to bring this back up, at the very, 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 very bottom, if you're a New York person, you have tons of banks to work with. But at the very, very bottom, we're gonna just simply say, I don't think it's on this one. In a very simple form, if you are bad with any banks, just walk in there, hold yourself accountable, take accountability. They'll most likely just take you back right then and there. And pretty much that is it. That is the full piece of the puzzle for you guys to get out of ChexSystems and early warnings. Please leverage this information. Once again, everything that you see right here is going to be in that bottom downloadable section. If I'm not mistaken, it should be on that right-hand side, depending on how you're looking at it, or maybe that left-hand side, but I believe it's the right-hand side if you're looking at it directly. You can download all of these things here and get yourself out of ChexSystems. So boom, we have LLCs made simple, step-by-step guide in a very simple form. How do we create it? It's going to go from step by step. First things first, namechecker.com. Super, super, super important. You don't want to get a name that's already taken. You don't want to get emotionally tied to a name and then you find out that it's already taken. Then you want to get your virtual business address. I like this because you don't have to have your public information. LLCs are public information. Businesses are public information. If you put it to your personal address, that's public information. I personally like to have the anonymity to know that like nobody's going to know that. And also it does look better in certain cases. Now, if you get the right one, it looks even great. But of course, if you just get like a basic one and somebody looks it up and it's a back door to a Staples, they'll know. And then also another thing, most of these banks already know when they see suites and all that other stuff. It's not a necessity, but for me, safety reason, way more important. Then we have business phone numbers. Now, to me, this is super important. I personally don't like everybody ringing my phone, so I have multiple business phone numbers. We have the company line, which is very simple. You can find these on Twilio, Google Voice, and Grasshopper. If you have a CRM, you can also have a phone number there. Then we also have file your LLC in identity protection state. So yes, this is like personal information, like your actual address, but there's identity protection states such as Wyoming and Delaware. I believe Nevada might be another one. And then that's what I would like to do. You can also talk to your tax guy. They'll help you structure this properly. You can definitely go for ones that'll help you with tax reasons as well. Then we have creating your business domain name. Super simple. GoDaddy. There's so many websites for it, but you got GoDaddy, you got googledomain.com. There's so many of them. And then we have creating a professional email from this to that. So that way it's going to be info@blank.com, for example, info@bettercreditchallenge.com, service@bettercreditchallenge.com, sales@bettercreditchallenge.com, first/last name @bettercreditchallenge.com. Check your NICS code. Always want to make sure that your North American industry classification system is a system that works for you, or a code that works for you, so that way it's not like a high risk code. For example, you also want to make sure that your name, make the name pretty open. You want to be a little bit more on the vague side. You don't want to be directly, hey, I am a trucker, so I'm going to put trucking in my name. I am a real estate agent. I'm going to put real estate in my name. I do construction, so I'm going to put construction in my name. Eventually, yes, it doesn't matter because there's ways of getting around that stuff, like revenue-based funding and stuff. But if you're somebody that's just starting out and you're creating an LLC because you want to get business funding, I would say keep it simple, keep it short. The KISS method is always the best method. And then in a very simple form, we have our stuff broken down here. And actually this is old. So if you click this should, oh, this doesn't even work anymore. But this old link doesn't exist anymore. We now have it for, you sign up for $1 and you get locked in. Let's get active, let's get busy. I hope you watch that full time. We'll break it up and we'll chop it up and make it look nice. But for the most part, I hope you enjoyed that full breakdown of ChexSystems, and I hope that you are able to get out of ChexSystems, leverage the LLC if worse come to worse, and then you can move forward with life. Let's get active. We have better credit and we now are locked up, and now we're out of our ChexSystems and early warnings. Let's get active. Peace.